Ladies and gentlemen, at his sublime best, Mr. VVS Lakshman is a sight for the gods. Wisty, willowy, and seniors, he can match through best in all the games. His on-side game is comparable to his idol Azharuddin's, yet he is decidedly more assured on the offside and has the rare gift of being able to hit the same ball on either side. The Australians, who have suffered more than most, paid the highest compliment after India's 2003-2004 tour down under by admitting that they did not know where to bowl to him. With this introduction, I would like to invite and welcome Mr. VVS Lakshman and address the gathering.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You know how it feels for me? Is the 5th day of a test match, post-lunch session, heading for a draw. No interest at all, and you were just waiting for the match to be over. And maybe party, maybe celebrate individual performances. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That's better. Let's have the energy here as if we are just starting a crucial test match. First session of a test match, the kind of energy a team has to display. So once more, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, it's indeed a pleasure for me to be amidst all of you, to share my journey in the field of cricket, how it was initiated, the way planning which took place at various stages, how I was able to execute my goals, my plans, how I was able to monitor my performances, how my mentors, my coaches, my support staff reviewed my performances periodically, and most importantly, was I able to achieve my goals. That sounds very similar to what you have done in the last 2 days. Yes, I was surprised when Pawan and Arun came and invited me, and they told me about the principles of the project management. And I didn't realize that I actually implemented these principles in my life, in my career. And I can assure you that, I promise I can assure you that if we follow this project management principles and model, if we have this model in our mind, we'll not only gain and growth in our career or achieve success in our projects, but you will have sustainable growth and success in your lives. Who doesn't want to be successful in this room? That's it, not even one. And so everyone wants to succeed. And how do you succeed? By achieving your goals. One more question. Who in this room, I see a lot of ladies also, who in this room don't follow cricket? Thank you, ladies. I know it's a very popular game in India. Who in this room played cricket in their childhood? That's how popular it is. So it was no different for me as well. As a kid, as any kid in India, I loved playing the game. Whether it be in my school, in my neighborhood, with my friends, with my relatives, wherever an opportunity was there, I used to play cricket. But I never ever thought that cricket would be my profession. Cricket would be my career. I never ever thought that cricket would be my life. Yes, I was thinking about that probably in my dreams. As every one of us as a kid thinks of playing for the country. And do you agree that that will be the wildest dream you ever had, playing for the country? Yes. Same with me. But by God's grace, I was able to convert this wildest dream into a reality. But my goal as a kid was to become a doctor. And the reason for that, it's not that I was very intelligent. Yeah, I was good at academics. The reason for that was both my parents are eminent doctors in Hyderabad, and I drew a lot of inspiration from them. And it goes without saying that I wanted to have a career in medical profession, a proven career, and I started that planning of becoming a doctor. First in the state in 10th class in my favorite subject, science. Never ever liked the other subjects like geography, economics. Science, yes, loved science. In my 11th and 12th, I took BiPC. In my 12th, I qualified in the entrance exam, the MCET, and I was on verge of joining a medical school. But simultaneously, something was happening in my cricketing career as well. And the reason for that was I was very fortunate to have a mentor in the form of my uncle, my maternal uncle, Baba Krishna Mohan. How many of you had mentors when you were growing up? I know when you finish your college, you all may have a lot of mentors. When you were growing up, how many of you had mentors? Very few. I was very fortunate to have a mentor at such an early age. A mentor who actually recognized my talent, who actually persuaded me and convinced me to take cricket as a profession. He probably had more belief in my abilities than myself. And because of that, the way I was progressing in my cricketing career, he convinced my parents at the age of 17 to allow me to pursue my passion and dream of playing cricket for India. How many of you, and I want an honest answer here, at the age of 17 decided on taking a career or a profession and you're still doing that? How many of you? Very few, again, probably 40%. And that is the toughest decision we all have to take at the age of 17. Once we finish our 12th class, which degree are we supposed to get? What subjects are we supposed to take? And I was also the same. The biggest and the most important decision of my life I took at the age of 17. And I was very fortunate, and unlike some of my friends who were probably more talented than me, that my parents gave me the independence and the freedom to pursue my career. How many of your parents gave you the freedom to choose your career? But why the number of hands before were less? When I asked you a question, that how many of you are actually living your dream? Because that decision for me was I could live my dream. And decision making is a crucial skill. It's a crucial skill one has to have if you have to progress at various levels. Very, very crucial, because you have to day in and day out make decisions. And I was fortunate that I took the right decision at the right time, and because of that, I was able to pursue a career in cricket. But if I thought that my dream would turn into reality just because my parents gave me the freedom to play cricket, I was wrong. The reason for that is if you have to turn your dreams into reality, number one thing is you have to act. Number two, you have to sweat it out. You have to work hard. Number three, you have to bounce back from tough situations. Number four, and the most important, your life, there has to be only one idea. Your life, you have to be committed to your only one passion. And for me, that passion was cricket. My parents, who also were my mentors, gave me two advices. Number one, they told, it's not the profession that glorifies you. It's you who glorifies the profession. Number two, my parents presented me a Swami Vivekananda's book known as Thus Spake. How many of you read that book? I've got that because this idea or this thought or this advice from my parents changed the way I practiced for the next 5 years, because they gave me 5 years from 17 to 22 to achieve my dream of playing for the country. And if I didn't achieve my goal, I would stop playing cricket, come back, pursue my goal of becoming a doctor. Because in sports, age is a factor, whereas in academics, you can always come back and still pursue your academics. And I would just want to read this quickly, what Swami Vivekananda told, and I think it's so apt for all of us at any stage. Take up one idea, make that one idea your life. Think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea. And just leave other ideas alone. This is the way to success. And that is what I experienced from the age of 17 to 22. And I'm so fortunate that exactly at the age of 22, I was able to achieve my dream of wearing the Indian cap, which I was so passionate about. I realized that while you have to take action, while you have to sweat it out, while you have to be very hardworking, while you have to show a lot of determination to bounce back from tough situation, there is one important thing which is the crucial ingredient of success, especially when you're young, especially when you're people around you who are negative. The reason I say negative is because in 1992 or 1990, to be precise, cricket was not a professional career option. Now it is. Cricket was an amateur sport. Cricket was a big gamble. So there were a lot of people around me who in front of me discouraged me, who in front of me talked to my parents, questioning them. How did they allow me to take cricket as a profession? So there was one quality when I look back, which was very important for me to cross over all the obstacles I had or all the doubts people had around me. And that one word, anyone? Patience, yes. Perseverance, yes, very close. Trust, passion, confidence, all these were very important, but there was one, which is belief. I had the belief that I want to play for the country, I am capable of playing for the country. I don't care whether others believe in my abilities. I believe in my abilities, and I am going to work hard to achieve my dream. Because if I am not going to take the responsibility, if I am not going to take the commitment that I am going to work hard, no one else is going to do. There is no shortcuts. There is no magic in achieving success. All the successful people have to grind it out and have to have the belief that they are capable and they deserve to be successful. That was a very important quality which, when I think in hindsight, that was the quality which differentiated me from my colleagues at that age group. And I'm so proud that when I wore that Indian cap, all the hard work didn't go waste. Now, when I wore the Indian cap, you achieve your dream. How do you feel when you achieve your dream? At the end of your project, when the project was fantastic, the process was enjoyable, you attain success, what do you do at the end of the project? Anyone? Celebrate. Hard celebration. You party hard, you celebrate. But it was not in my case. I was very happy. I got to play my first test match against South Africa. Was there a time for me to celebrate? Was there a time for me to party? No. Why? The next day in the match, I was going to face the quickest bowler in world cricket at that time, Allan Donald. So I had to be prepared to face and counter the mighty South Africans. And I would like to share the first 4 years of my international career. I made my debut at the age of 22 in 1996. Till 2000, whoever followed my career, they would agree with me, I was not able to establish myself in the Indian team. I was frequently dropped. I was asked to open. I was always a middle order batsman right from my childhood. I was asked to open, but I took it up as a challenge. But the moment I didn't score in 2 games, they used to brand me as a non-regular opener and drop me. And every time I was dropped, what did I do? You're disappointed. Definitely disappointed, because you have left your goal and a wonderful career in medical field, and you have sacrificed everything to get an opportunity to play for India, and suddenly you're not part of the team. You are disappointed. You are devastated. What do? You bounce back. And the only way I bounced back was coming back to the first-class cricket in the Ranji Trophy, in the Dilip Trophy, in the Deodhar Trophy, wherever I got an opportunity, get hundreds. And come back into the Indian team, and again found myself, after 2 poor performances, again getting dropped. And this happened consistently from 1996 to 2000. And then one, I wouldn't say it was a miracle, but one important event happened in my life. What was that? In 2000. Fantastic. You've done a lot of research on me already. 167 I got against the Australians at Sydney, the toughest bowling attack at that time, on a green wicket, tough batting conditions, team in a miserable position, and situation I was facing is, if I don't get 100 in that match, that probably would have been the end of my career. And I get 167. What changed after that 167? Nothing changed. Because one test match after that, I was again dropped. I got 167, came back to India, played against South Africa in Mumbai, and I was dropped for the Bangalore test match. And again, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I was elated that I got 167, and now again, I'm out of the team. What do I do? And again, I mentioned to you the importance of decision making, the importance of introspecting yourself. And that's when I introspected, and I realized the ultimate aim for me was to win matches for the country consistently. And for that to happen, I had to be part of the team and play matches consistently. And the only way I can do that is not batting in the top order, which is opening the batting. I took the decision which no other Indian player has ever told to the selectors, that I'm not going to open anymore. But I made the decision because I had the courage to face and confront the selectors, saying that I am a middle order batsman and I will prove that I deserve a place in the side. What do? I come back to first class cricket, I get 11 consecutive hundreds and get back into the Indian team. The reason I'm mentioning this is when you're down and out, when you're facing a challenge in your life, in your career, there's no point in brooding over what's happened. That's past. What's important is how do you take the experiences from the past, improve on it, and come back more refreshed, come back a much better player. And that's what I did in the year of 2000. When I decided that I'm going to invest in myself, invest in getting the best coaches to improve my skill, invest on improving my mental attitude, because that's a neglected area in sports. Invest in finding the best mental conditioner available. I started, how many of you know NLP? Fantastic, a lot of sports persons here. NLP, I started listening and seeing the videos of Anthony Robbins, one of the best NLP trainer in world. I myself attended a seminar in Bombay conducted by a famous practitioner from USA in 2000. I did everything possible so that when the next opportunity comes, I'm ready to grab that opportunity. But did that opportunity come? No. I was selected into the Indian team in 2000. We went to Bangladesh to play the inaugural test match. The captain asked me again to open the batting, because they were going to play with 5 bowlers and 5 batsmen plus a wicket keeper. And because the captain knew that I had a fantastic run in domestic cricket and I am a deserving candidate to play in the final 11, he asked me to open because that was the only spot available. The middle order was packed. Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Sourav Ganguly. I told, no, I'm not going to open. I again had the courage to tell the captain that I don't want to open because I made a decision and I'm sticking by that decision. Later on, I get an opportunity against Zimbabwe in 2000 in Delhi Test match, batted number 6, get some 20-25 runs, not out, declared. Then the following Test match again dropped because again the captain is playing with 5 bowlers at Nagpur. And at the end of that Test series against Zimbabwe, again I'm back to normal position where I'm not part of the Test team. But I came back again to first class cricket, again kept scoring hundreds, 200s, not just 50s, 60s. And then the magic series, the memorable series of Australia happened. But before I talk about that Test match, I got you again. I mentioned what my parents advised me at the age of 17 to follow Swami Vivekananda's message. They gave me one more when I was struggling to cement my place from 22 to 26, and I just got that with me. And I said, this is so old. What is this? This is persistence. My parents gave this. I'm sure a lot of you must have read this, may have practiced this. I just want to read this. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world's full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. And how true this was. Because if I didn't persist, if I didn't show determination, I would have finished as someone who just played 15 or 16 test matches, and no one would have even remembered my contribution to Indian cricket. This is such an important message which my parents gave me at a crucial phase of my career. And I practiced this. And because of this, I was able to get that result against Australia in that series. How many of you remember that series? One of the most memorable series, not only for Indians, but even to the Australians, even though they were on the losing side. The reason is 16 consecutive wins. They're almost like invincibles, like the 1940s invincibles of Donald Bradman. Beat us convincingly in Mumbai. On verge of victory in Calcutta, 274 runs behind. Following on, we go on to win the test match. Yes, I got 281, Rahul got 100, Harbhajan got wickets, he got an hat-trick, we won the test match. But one thing that test match taught us, and more often than not, we realize that if we practice that principles, what we did in that test match, we will get the same results, which happened in Adelaide in 2003 and 4, which happened in Mohali, which happened in Sri Lanka, which happened in West Indies. That is, never ever lose, again, your belief as a team or as an individual. Fight it out till the last moment. You never know. A match is not won till the last wicket is taken or your last run is scored. And that's exactly what that test match in Calcutta showed us. That we had the potential to bounce back from adverse situations. Memorable test match. After that, I'm so proud that from 2001, I've been a consistent member of the Indian team. After that, I played more than 120 test matches, averaged more than 60, even though in the end my average shows only 46. But that was because of the phase from 1996 to 2000. But 2001 onwards, it changed. Consistently performed for the country. Won matches, saved matches, which I'm so proud of, because that is why I played cricket for. And there is one ingredient which I practiced during that time. And again, this is what my parents gave, and I'll get this. This is about pride. And I took pride in playing for the country. I already was an established test cricketer. I achieved decent success, but I was not satisfied because I had the pride in what I was doing for the country. I'll just quickly read this. Pride is a personal commitment. It is an attitude which separates excellence from mediocrity. It is that ingredient which inspires us not to get ahead of others, but rather to get ahead of ourselves. So I never tried to get ahead of a Sachin Tendulkar, a Rahul Dravid, a Sourav Ganguly, a Sehwag. No. I wanted to get ahead of myself. What was I yesterday? Am I becoming a better player today? And am I improving as a player, as a person today? And that was the only thing in my mind. Because when you're trying to chase people, in trying to prove that you're better than others, you're not doing justice to yourself. Because every individual is unique. Every individual will have a special quality. And every individual is not the same. So you're letting yourself down by putting unnecessarily pressure on yourself in being in that rat race. I didn't want to do that. And this quality of mine helped me in my longevity. And I was so happy that I was part of the team which had players who took a lot of pride in playing for the country. And that is the reason, if we talk about the era from 2000 to 2012, probably the golden era of Indian cricket is what they say. And for any successful team, what is the starting point of a successful team or a successful company? What is the starting point? Fantastic. Good leader. And who was the leader? Sourav Ganguly. And I've got no doubt that he was the best captain I played under. The reason, when he took over captaincy, he took over a sinking Indian team. I'm sure most of you must have had, or some of you must have had an experience when you're made in charge of a project which is sinking, and you have to revive that. I can see some of you laughing. It happens. And that's exactly what Sourav was given. Indian cricket was in shambles. Match fixing in 2000. You lost miserably in Australia. You lost a home series against South Africa. And Sourav takes over amidst all these shambles. And what does he do? What's the next step for a captain? Once he takes the responsibility of a leader, what's the most important step of a captain? Fantastic. He selected the right players. And whenever I talk to Sourav or ask why he selected the players who he did, he tells the number one quality he looked in them was their attitude. Because ability, most of the cricketers have, or most of the people have the ability, have the talent, have the skill. But what differentiates between a good cricketer or a good professional and a successful cricketer or a professional is the attitude. And that was the only factor why it chose players like Sehwag, players like Zaheer Khan, players like Harbhajan Singh, players like Mohammad Kaif, Yuvraj Singh, because he saw that attitude in them, a never say die attitude. They were all fighters. Yes, he already had established cricketers like Sachin, Rahul, Kumble, Srinath, myself almost there, but he got in 5 or 6 quality youngsters. Once he got in these quality youngsters, what did he do? What was his next step? Yeah, lady? Train them, yes. Mentor them, support them, gave them the confidence. Because when you're playing for your country, there is a lot of insecurity. So much of competition, only 11 players can take the field. So what is the thought process of a player who's making his debut or who's just starting his career? Is to first establish themselves in the team. So what are they thinking? They're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about the team. They have got a lot of self-doubt about themselves. That is where a good leader comes in. A good leader comes, gives them the confidence, gives them the security, and most importantly, allows them to play their natural game. Someone like Sehwag, first ball, outside the off stump, hit over point for a 6. Now, have you ever thought that Indian cricket or the selectors would allow such things to happen? Never ever, except probably Krishnamacharya Srikanth. But Sehwag was that. But Sourav gave him the freedom. As long as he backs his game plan, as long as he knows what the team requires from him, which is performance, Sourav backed them. So that's why I regard Sourav as probably the most successful captain of Indian cricket. Along with Sourav, we also had one more important member who was a leader in 2000. Who was it? Yes? Very good. The coach. The first foreign coach. While Sourav loved exhibiting his leadership qualities, John Wright didn't. He was just opposite, and that's why they complemented each other. He was a coach who loved being behind the scenes. But he changed the way Indian cricketers thought. He changed the mental approach of the Indian cricketers. I'll tell you, when John Wright, his first test match, are you from media? No one from media? Okay. The first test match of John Wright, we were playing against Zimbabwe at Delhi. SS Das gets his first 50 of his career. How many people on the balcony clapping for him? Guess. Oh, exactly. No. We were not so bad also. There were 3 or 4. And the team comprised of 15 players plus couple of support staff. And he was pissed off. Because he came inside the changing room and started yelling at all of us, including me, saying that your colleague is getting his first half century, which is a big milestone in anyone's career, and there is no one who's coming and clapping for him or acknowledging his effort for the team. So he changed the mindset of the players to feel for each other, which is so important role of a leader or an important ingredient of a good team, a good corporate, a good organization, is feeling for each other of your colleague, even if that colleague is a competition of yours. The second thing which he did was telling to the players that he doesn't care whether they get 100 or a 5-wicket all. But he respects that performances which helps the team to win the game or save the game. And he appreciated those performances more than 100 or a 5-wicket all. Because when you get 100, when you get a 5-wicket all, the whole country is behind you. Papers are writing good about you. But no one even cares for someone whose contribution is only at 30 runs. But that contribution was important for the team to cross the line. That is what he changed. He recognized those contributions. And somehow, everyone felt important in the team. It was just not 2 or 3 superstars, but everyone felt a part of the team, which is so important. That there cannot be only 1 or 2 guys who represent India or who are the superstars. But every one player who is representing India is important. I'll tell you one more example. This happened with me, the experience which I will never ever forget. We were playing a test series in Jamaica, in West Indies in 2002, a 5 test match series, highest run getter in that series, by far. The second highest run getter was probably 100 runs less than me. The 5th test we are playing in Jamaica, 4th day, just around tea time. We required 180 runs to win, 5 wickets down. John Wright sends a message to VVS Lakshman, who is really high in confidence because he had a successful series, that there's no chance of us getting that 188 runs. But there's a chance of us saving the test match because we won in Trinidad in the 2nd test match and West Indies came back and beat us in Barbados in the 3rd test match. So the series was leveled. That was the decider of the series. And he told me, he sent a message saying that there is forecast for thunderstorms and heavy showers. So just hang in there. Don't throw your wicket, because I was playing aggressively, because I was high in confidence. I was playing my normal instinctive game. But what did I do? That's a lesson I'll never forget. Is even though you're confident, but if your team requires you to play in a different manner, you have to do that. But because I was confident, I probably was overconfident, not confident. I thought I can get 180 runs and win the match for India. But the mistake I did was in trying to do that, I played a pull shot. I still remember of Adam Samford, and Mervyn Dillon ran back almost 10 to 15 meters and took a good catch. And what happened next? I got out in the 66th over, and we were all bowled out in the 80th over. That is 14 more overs or maybe 15 more overs. The last wicket fell, and it started pouring at the prize distribution ceremony. And for the next 5 days, there was no cricket. 2 one-day matches were cancelled. For next 5 days, we were in our room, and the forecast was right. And I didn't listen to the instructions of the coach. What does he do? The entire team leaves the dressing room at the end of the test match after the prize distribution ceremony. He asked me to wait. He takes me to the balcony, shows the heavy showers, and says, "It's because of you that we lost the test series." And I was like shocked. I am the highest run getter in this test series, and the coach is blaming me for losing the test series. But then I realized when I went back with a calm mind, I reflected on what my coach told, and I realized how true he was. In me becoming overconfident, I didn't listen to the instruction of the coach. If I would have controlled my aggression, controlled my instinctive play, and just hanged in there with the tailenders, who knows, we would have saved the test match and the test series. And that day I realized how important a coach's role is in the development of a team. Because he is not appreciating individual performances like Lakshman had on that tour, but he's upset and he's communicating to his successful player on that tour that what he did was wrong. And that is so important ingredient of a good leader. Is telling to your players or telling to your staff or telling to your colleagues that what the team requires is more important than what you want as an individual. And since that day, I have realized the importance of playing for the team. And even in my retirement, there was a lot of speculation. Even in my retirement, that thought was there, what the team requires at that moment. And that is why I took a decision that the team required a youngster to come in and play test matches in India, 10 test matches, and I decided to retire. So I was so happy that even in my retirement, I followed the ideals for which I played the game. His team comes ahead of your individual performances. And I was so fortunate that the journey which began in 2000, 2001 culminated with me being a part of the #1 test playing nation in world cricket in 2009. Even though I was not part of the T20 victory in 2007 World Cup, we feel proud of what the players, MS Dhoni and his team had done there. 2011, the World Cup 50-over championship winners, great. But it all started because of 2 leaders, which is John Red and Sourav Ganguly, because they showed how a team has to behave. They built the character of the Indian team. And I think all of you here are leaders. I've got one more, quickly, the quality which I urge all of you to follow, because leadership is not about a title or a designation. Even though I was not a leader, even though a lot of the players in that team were not the designated captain, everyone behaved like a leader. It's not about a title or a designation. It's about the impact. It's about the influence. It's about the inspiration. Impact involves getting results. Ultimately, it's a world where you have to perform. If you don't perform, someone else performs. A leader always gives results. A leader always is influential because he has the qualities and capabilities to spread the passion he has for his work to his teammates and his colleagues. And once you have the impact and the influence, you inspire the people who are working for you. So I hope that all of you will behave like leaders. Because once you're a leader, once you behave like a leader, you take the responsibility of the entire team. It's not about designation. So all the very best. I would like to end this talk by showing a short video. Can we?
On. They made. Inch by inch, play by play. They fight for every step, every breath. They stumble, they fall down, they land square on their face, just to get back on their feet. The dream, the passion, the desire to get up every time, just to make it to the top.
And that is so true. And that is true not only in a sportsman's life, but in everyone's life. When you fall, you have to get up and fight, because no one is going to fight for you. But the most important thing is, if you stop dreaming, you cease living. All the best.
We have time to take 2 questions. So if anybody has questions, can you please come over the mic?
Rahul, not again, man. How many
Near
questions
the
you asked
mic.
before?
You will need a mic to speak. Yeah.
Thanks VVS for this truly inspiring speech. One question to you. The way cricket has transformed from, let's say, test cricket to one day to T20, our project management profession is also transformed. So what is your one message to us, how to adapt to a changing game?
Very important, especially in this day and age, adaptability is a very crucial ingredient in being successful, because you cannot expect everything to be the way you want it to be or what you're good at. It's important to adapt, and that is why a good cricketer is the one who adapts and succeeds in all the formats. And that is why I feel that Sachin Tendulkar was probably the best cricketer, because he adapted to test match cricket, he adapted to one-day cricket, and also to T20 format. So I think adaptability is very important. How do you do that? Is again going back and introspecting. And only when you introspect, you not only focus on your strengths, but also your weaknesses. And if your weaknesses are reduced, and your weaknesses are converted into strengths to the project you have in your hand, you will be successful. So it's very important to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, and change what you're not good at and make it into your strength.
Thank you, Lakshman, for having come here and sharing your life. Most of, like you followed your cricket, we followed you all the way. And may I request the audience to stand up and give a standing ovation to Lakshman for having played the greatest innings by an Indian.
Thank you very much. Thank you, really appreciate it, thank you.
Sir, one question to you. I have not asked my question. Why the current Indian team is not fighting the way you four were fighting?
Come back again, come back.
Why the current Indian cricket team was not fighting the way you, Saurav, Dravid and Tendulkar were fighting?
Even we lost miserably in Australia and England in 2011. See, I think the current Indian team is an inexperienced team, especially in foreign conditions. And that is very, very important, is to have experience. But I agree that I was surprised that they didn't show the fighting spirit in the 3 test matches, the last 3 test matches, especially after winning the Lord's test match. It's important that you show fighting spirit. Doesn't matter whether you're successful or not, but as long as you're fighting it out, results doesn't matter. I was little surprised, but I'm sure that this current Indian team has got the talent, and sometimes I'm happy that such series happen, because I still remember I talked about the Australia series in 2000. I got 167, but that was a miserable series for someone like Rahul, even Saurav. If not for the last test match, it would have been a miserable series for me. But that series actually changed my mindset as a cricketer. So I'm sure that players who were part of this test series, it will help them to only improve, and this experience will help them to blossom as international cricketers. Because when you perform in alien conditions like South Africa, Australia, or England, you become an all-round player. So I'm sure that these players will only improve from this experience.
Thank you, Lakshman, for being so stylish during your train and for being very, very special. That too from Hyderabad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I think we are, okay, fine, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, VVS.
Hi.
Good to see you. I'm a great fan of you. 2003 World Cup, just before a few months of World Cup, you performed well, 3 centuries in a calendar year, and you are in good form in one-day cricket also in Australia. But you haven't been selected for 2003 World Cup, which you mentioned in media also, it's your dream. So haven't you tried to bounce back into ODI team?
Interesting,
You
because
might have been, but yeah.
yeah, the 2003 at that time was probably the most disappointing phase of my career, not being selected to the World Cup squad, because in 99 I missed out narrowly to participate in the World Cup in England, and since then I really improved on my one-day cricket, and 6 or 8 months before that 2003 World Cup, I was probably the most consistent run getter for India in the one-days as well. So it came as a rude shock for me not being part. And honestly, I almost left playing cricket. Luckily for me, there was a 5-month break after that World Cup. And again, I told about the importance of a mentor. And my mentor, who was my uncle and then my parents, convinced me that short or small disappointments, should not be forcing you to take such a big decision. And that changed my mindset again, that I'm not going to brood over what's in the past, because I still have an opportunity to play cricket for India in test matches. But the season after the 2003 World Cup, which was the 2003 and 4 season, was probably the best season for me in one-days also. Like in Australia, I got 300s in the triangular one-day series, followed up with a match-winning 100 in Lahore against Pakistan, where the series was tied 2-all, and we won the series in the last one-day match. So I believe, yeah, disappointments happen in your life, but you have to always take the positives from the disappointments. And I would have loved to play much more in one-day format as well. But then there's no point in brooding of what is beyond your control. But what is in my control is whatever opportunities I get, I want to do my best for the country. So that's what I always focused on. Not playing the 2003 World Cup or not playing more one-days is a disappointment. But what I committed was, wherever I am given an opportunity, I want to maximize that.
Thank you. But I disappointed more than you, maybe.
Hi, VVS.
Hi.
Thanks for the great speech. I just have 2 related questions. So one is that as part of the India cricket team, you are all stars. But how does it feel when you have a superstar who overshadows all of you? And the second question is, as a leader, what is your advice? How we should handle when we have somebody like, Sachin in our teams, how we should make the entire team feel at ease?
I'll answer both. First, someone like Sachin, we never felt that he was a superstar. We felt that he was an inspiration for us. So when you have a superstar, or probably the best player in world cricket, you have to get inspired by him. And that's the greatness of Sachin Tendulkar, is he never behaved like a superstar. And he always inspired all of us. Till the last day, he played cricket for India. And we were very fortunate to have played alongside him. The second question is how to handle a superstar. And that's why I rate after Saurav probably Dhoni the best captain. The reason is when he took over, as the Indian captain, he was not an experienced test match player. Neither was he experienced one-day player. But the selectors thought that he was the captain for the future. He was young and they wanted to groom him. But the way he handled the seniors was exemplary. Because sometimes, even though you're not the most experienced person in the organization, there are certain leadership qualities which the selectors or the board in an organization recognizes and gives them the designation or the title as a captain. But what Dhoni did the best is he took all the senior players into confidence and told them what his vision was, told them what his goal was. And everyone in the team, whether it's a senior player or a junior player, have to understand the vision of the captain and be convinced that this is what is good for that organization. And that's exactly what Dhoni did. And also he was fortunate that when it may be different for a private organization, but when you're playing for a country, that to a game of cricket, it's a great honor. And everyone Dhoni had in his team, I already mentioned, took a lot of pride in their performances. So there was not a big deal of inspiration required or motivation required to these senior players also. But it's important that the captain explains to the senior player and the junior players what his vision is, have a plan, have a roadmap, and then everyone should follow that. And what is important for that team, everyone has to do that. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing such an inspiring address with all of us. I think you have shared your life experiences that had project management concepts and how to make decision and all that. But I think as a team, we are also a winner over here. As we end at the third day of the conference, we take all the inspirations from the leaders, from all the sessions, case studies, and we will go home and implement and use all these experiences in our life and in our profession. So thank you once again, and I would like to invite Raj on the stage to present a memento and a bouquet to Mr. VVS Lakshman.